And how does it feel looking around and seeing so much love for Pokemon after all of these years?
Yeah, isn't it extraordinary that it's lasted this long? I think there's something about, especially with the show, there's something that that's real in the unrealness, that we can all relate to that journey, whether we are 10 or still 10 somehow inside. But I think that's a testament to I guess the real story behind all the merchandise and all of that, that's luckily, I think, what's seeped in. But isn't it, 20 years on, here we are still talking about it. It's really great.
Playing the games and buying
the games, I know, the card games, still watching the shows. It's really great. I was working on another anime called Slayers, and the people who had cast me in that were doing the casting for Pokemon, so I was simply asked to come audition. So it's like, as an actor, you're always auditioning for a million things, and it's not like you go, I'll take that, but I won't audition for this. Anything that comes, you go, yeah, I'm right for it, and you just jump in. So Pokemon was just one of those things that I was lucky to get the audition, and then even luckier to get the job. I wish I were still voicing Ash. We didn't have a choice to leave the show, so I certainly wish I were still on it. It was really joyful, and to be working with all the people involved was fantastic. I've never really thought about, do I wish I were Misty or Brock or someone else? I've not really thought about that, actually. I think as an actor, you have to deal with what you have, not what you don't have. So I often don't dwell on the I wish I had type things. Sure. When we first auditioned for Pokemon, we were basing the voices on the original Japanese actors and actresses. So what we got to go in and see a tiny clip from Pokemon, and from listening to it on the tiny TV, hearing the voice, and then you just jump in the booth and do your best kind of impression of that. So we didn't have a lot of time to prepare. It was just really listen and go, okay, I think I've got it, and then just do it. So it was based on that, and I think it was allowed to kind of transform into what it eventually became while I was working on it. Even within the first season, it transitioned a bit from a million people kind of directing to just 2 or 3 people directing by the end. So it was matching the originals.
And what is it like as a female playing a 10-year-old boy?
Extraordinary. But I've played a lot of sports my whole life. I was doing a stunt show before that, and so, doing sports and combat and all of that stuff is kind of what I do anyway. I think there's something about Ash that is part of all of us. So, yes, I was playing a boy, but I was playing a character who was exuberant and positive and just kind of naive, especially in the beginning, and just out on his own. So you can play that. I could have played that if he were a sheep, I think, or something, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
You can just, I think when you're creating a character, you have to figure out what their essence is, and you're playing that. And then you can add the age or the sex or the animal characteristics or whatever they are on top of it. But it was pretty natural. Ash's voice is kind of back in here, and so it's not the most vocally hygienic. So you can't, there's not a lot of air that comes through. So the most challenging is making sure that you are taking care of yourself, that you know how to properly place it, and if you start getting a cold, you know where to put it so that it can move, around. If your nose is blocked, how do you get it to come out of that instead of, even though most of us resonate up here. So that's probably the most challenging, is staying healthy for any role that you play, but especially for that.
Until recently, continues to poke through the universe.
Yeah, I do. Yeah, there's something about it that we all kind of glom onto. When kids are younger, there's all that to learn, and your parents have no idea what you're talking about. And I think there's something wonderful about that, and being able to teach your parents about it. And that so many parents just were like, I don't know anything about it, and then they were able to share that. I think as we get older, and then you learn how to use your own skill with playing the games, but then after a certain time, like this is 20 years on now, so a lot of kids are in their 30s who started watching it when they were 10, and to be able to kind of pop back to when you were 10, when you didn't have all that responsibility, when you were just kind of dreaming about what you wanted to be able to take a moment and revisit who you were at 10, I think Pokemon kind of allows you to do that in an odd way. It's not marketable, but I think it does there's something about it that I think that's why we all still love it. So it's multi-layered. Pikachu's definitely my favorite. My daughter and I always joke that if we had a Charizard, we could fly around New York City or Los Angeles. So it seems like it would be a better thing. We do go camping, and we're not very good at building the fire, so having a Charizard would be pretty handy. So I guess I'd have to. Yeah, exactly. You have to be practical. I was a Girl Scout, so